Good afternoon and welcome to World Talks with me, Salia Strzemska, as we continue to discuss the NATO summit which took place in Washington, D.C. Ukraine was the key topic at the 75th NATO summit that took place in Washington, D.C. Despite high hopes, the country did not receive a formal invitation to join the alliance. However, it was announced that the country is on an irreversible path towards membership. To discuss, I am joined by Professor Magdalena M. Baran, University of the National Education Commission, Chief Editor, Liberté. Good afternoon, delighted to have you with us.
Good afternoon.
Before we embark on our discussion, we prepared some sound bites from both the outgoing NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg as well as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. So here's more.
Ukraine's future is in NATO. I welcome your progress on reforms, and as you continue this important work, we will support you on your irreversible path to NATO membership.
I'm grateful to you for your attention to Ukraine and for supporting our people and our absolutely just cause, the defense against Russian aggression. It is Russia that invaded our land. It's Russia that wants to take our lives. It's Russia that kills and destroys, and through this war against Ukraine, it wants to show what awaits other countries if we do not endure. That is why we must endure. That is why we must preserve our unity, all partners. And that is why we must strengthen ourselves so that Russia doesn't succeed in making the world accept to the notion that wars of aggression are normal. As now, within the framework of this NATO summit, we have concrete successes and very important for us, for our people, our children, very important decisions. First of all, we appreciate the decision on air defense, 5 Patriots for Ukraine and dozens of other systems, and we expect them to be delivered as soon as possible so that as many lives as possible can be saved.
So Volodymyr Zelensky thanked for all of these new security assurances and also military aid. Do you think that Ukraine is happy with the outcome of the summit?
Ukraine is definitely not happy, but Ukraine shouldn't expect more. We should have in mind that during the previous summit in Vilnius, the declaration for Ukraine, it was just a declaration that maybe in the future Ukraine will get the invitation to join the alliance. Right now, it's, like you say, irreversible path to NATO, to join the alliance. So there is no step back from the once taken path. And of course, Ukraine could expect that maybe NATO could break some rules, but according to the law, NATO cannot give this invitation to Ukraine as long as Ukraine is in the state of war. We did not do such things even if there is a danger of the conflict, of the military conflict at the borders of the country. And right now, when you have a country in the state of war, from the legal point of view, it is in fact impossible. Also, all the allies must agree to give the invitation, and for now it's maybe not veto, but opposite voice from Germany and probably also from US, that this is not this particular moment, but we'll do everything to help Ukraine to join NATO. But also there's a promise, and not promise, but also facts. For example, this NATO-Ukraine analysis training and education center that will be located in Poland, in Bydgoszcz, that is first to train Ukrainian soldiers, but also to learn from what happened during the war in the Ukraine, during the Russian aggression against Ukraine, how to use whatever we learn from this for the future of NATO. Also, the other thing is to make the internal cooperation between Ukraine and NATO much stronger than it was before. So certain steps was done, and I think that the rest you...
I was actually going to ask you, just looking holistically at the summit, do you think that it was a success? Did it fulfill the mission that perhaps you were expecting it to fulfill?
I didn't expect more, in fact. So what you can hear, what you can read in the declaration after the summit is not only that, okay, this is a collective defense and deterrence pact, that this is a pivotal moment for our security, that, we have all the steps done to be more open, but NATO, and if I remember correctly, it is exactly written, is the strongest, the most united, and as it never was before. And the next thing is that NATO stood in solidarity against the brutal aggression. And it is open also for new challenges. And this is the steps were done, for example, when you consider the third invitation, because it was the third summit to which invitation was sent to countries from Indo-Pacific region, so New Zealand, Australia, Japan and South Korea. And we established the first formal cooperation to give the support to the Ukraine, but also to protect our countries for disinformation, for cyber attacks, and to develop together some technologies, some war-related technologies. So this is a big step. And of course, once again, Ukraine probably expected more, but since they will get 40 billion euro in weapon, and U.S. is also planning to give more money for the weapon for the Ukraine, for the military support of the Ukraine. So there are some major steps, I believe. And from our point of view today, I would say that NATO couldn't give more, and even more we'll see in details, because right now we know the declaration, the basic declaration, and a few other documents, and we'll probably learn more about the results of the bilateral meetings that also took place during the summit.
Right, so let's take a closer look at two issues that you've mentioned. First and foremost, the Indo-Pacific and China, because the topic, the China was mentioned in the communique also as an enabler for Russia's war efforts. So what do you think of Chinese response to that, and what actions can we expect?
Maybe first we should say that it's the first summit that sent such a sharp message to China, saying, yeah, you're considered to be a decisive supporter of the Russian aggression in the Ukraine. You support it militarily, but also politically, and we cannot stand, we cannot support your actions, especially when it comes to the dual-use materials that may be considered things to support for the civilian population, but also might be used to produce weapons in general military industry. And the response, I think you have in mind those Chinese soldiers that appeared close to the Polish-Belarusian border.
I also meant the statement from the Chinese that the West is sowing discontent, right, instead of concentrating on other issues.
Yeah, I think it's China couldn't do anything more, in fact, right now, especially that China doesn't want to go to war with NATO, and it doesn't make any sense. And you can observe two phases of the Chinese policy. Just, we have in mind, for example, the last visit of the Chinese president in France, for example, and how China is trying to deal with the European Union. But also, we are all aware of support given to Russia. In fact, together with Iraq, together with North Korea, that both countries, just to add it, was condemned in this declaration at the very end of the summit.
Professor, but you've mentioned Chinese forces exercising in Belarus, which is very interesting. Could you briefly expand on that, perhaps?
I'm not sure if there is anything for now to explain, because we doesn't know the facts. Might be, yeah, some people, I read a short message today that some people might consider it to be a part of a hybrid war, of an element of the hybrid war, and this is again another step we have in this. I see you
this is
smiling.
what I was also going to ask you about.
Okay, I'm not going to steal your question. So might be a part of also showing the alliance that exists between Russia, Belarus, and China.
So let's move to hybrid warfare and also cybersecurity, because these are also important aspects. And what are some of the key goals that NATO has set for itself in these two domains?
About cybersecurity, that will be the second part, starting from hybrid war, because in this during this summit we got a very clear declaration about the hybrid war, because hybrid warfare, and it is once again the first time in history, might be, according to the declaration, considered as an act of the regular war, as might be treated as a weaponized attack. And if one of the allies will be exposed to this kind of attack, but also I hope that in the next step also to cyber attacks, NATO may consider to use the Article 5, so the famous article about common defense. Okay, we cannot be sure how this common defense could look like, but having, for example, the hybrid war at the Polish-Belarusian border right now, we can, for example, think that it might be a kind of providing a support, a stronger support from NATO to building of our, maybe I just have this idea that it might be to find a way to support the building of the Eastern Shield at the Polish-Belarusian border, to protect in fact the border of European Union, but also the border of NATO here. So I don't expect a common defense in the military sense, but any kind of support given to the country to protect from any kind of violence here. And the cyber attacks, this is another step, and I already know that there is a document about it and some bilateral talks showing the possibilities how to deal with the AI and how to extend our cooperation in this regard.
And I hope we'll have an opportunity to discuss that in a separate talk. Professor Magdalena and Baran, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.